So, hello everyone. I'm lucky enough to be joined with Mr. Dan Holloway today, and we're going to be covering a session on worry and why it's not worth worrying about anything but the present moment. And this can be kind of brought up in so many ways: worry, fear, anxiety. It's all a sort of like common thread, something that Dan's been going through with a lot of members of his and clients, is fear, basically. So but we're gonna trace through fear, anxiety and worry. So mainly, why not to worry? Dan,
Yes, why not to worry?
what would you say worry actually is?
Okay. Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, the reason I think that we need to understand this, particularly when we start a new venture like online business or something like that, is that when we understand the mechanics of why we feel the way that we feel, it means that we can get things in perspective a lot easier. You know, we're not controlled by the emotions that we're feeling, and our actions are not dictated based on the feelings that we have within our body at a given time. So what happens normally when somebody's worrying, when we're worrying, right, it means that we're not in the present moment. We're either looking into the future, and we have these future imagined perceived scenarios that we think are going to exist. And therefore what our ego, what our mind is trying to do is it's trying to find certainty in an uncertain future. When we can't find certainty in an uncertain future, what happens is we start to imagine all these terrible things that might happen. We start to worry about how we're going to cope if this happens or that happens, and all of these kind of things, you know, that we can't control. And so it's this feeling of trying to grasp the certainty that's creating this emotion, this fear around what we don't know. We can't see how it's going to pan out. And this often stems from a number of things, but a big one is lack of belief. So lack of belief in yourself, lack of belief in the direction you're going, lack of belief in the way that the universe works, and all these kind of stuff. Because a big transition that someone can make, if they want to get to a space where they're, for example, not worrying about the future, you know, not worrying about running out of money when they start their business or something like that, they have to be in a space where they truly believe and trust that they are not going to quit. Because what happens is, if somebody never quits no matter what, let's say they want to start an online business, we'll talk about that. Someone wants to start an online business, don't know how, don't know the steps they're going to take, don't know the path they're going to go down, they've never done this before, it's uncertain, right? If someone never quits no matter what, and they know that they're never going to quit no matter what, there is only two possible outcomes. They either succeed or they die. That's it, right? It's not a metaphor, that's fact. If you can fail 1,000 times, but if you never give up no matter what, eventually you will succeed or you will die trying. One of those two things will happen. Now, if the fear is, oh, I worry if what happens when I run out of money, you know, I've got this pot of cash to start my business, but what happens when that's gone? What am I going to do? How am I going to sort it out? Worry, 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 fear, anxiety. I went through this in January 2017, big time. And I'll explain that more in a bit. But when we're in this space where we're worrying about something, if we know we're never going to quit, if we were to die, would we care about whether we maxed out our credit card? Would we care about whether we ran out of our, you know, the amount of zeros that we had in our bank account dropped to nothing? Like, would we care? No. Grand scheme of things, it's not important, right? Like, you know, you're never going to lie on your deathbed and think, I wish I didn't max out that Barclay card because now I'm going to regret that, so that I never had the chance in my life to, you know, whatever. Doesn't matter. Not important. And the only other outcome is success. That's the only other one worth considering. And when we succeed, would we care about what we had to do to get there? If we got financial freedom, would we care about how much money it cost? No, because we have financial freedom. But the point is that we don't need to, you know, we don't need to worry about money anymore. And so if someone's truly committed to the path, they will not quit no matter what. Therefore, they will succeed. And so an analogy I love using this with people. And I know we've spoken about this before, Caroline, but I say, if you had a crystal ball and you could see 24 months into the future, for example, right? And you knew with 100% certainty, utter certainty, that you're going to be living the life of your dreams. You know, money is no object. Like, you can be wherever you want, do whatever you want. You're with whoever you want. You're living the absolute perfect life you could imagine. That is facts, done, certain, no ifs, no buts, nothing. It's done, guaranteed, right? If you knew that that future was guaranteed no matter what, how would you feel in this moment? Would you worry? You know, would you feel anxiety? Would you feel fear? No, you'd probably feel a sense of calm, right?
Yes. So basically, you think, just to sort of like sum it up, that worry is about framing your future. So you can choose to view your future from the perspective you're in right now in X, Y, Z different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that you're attaching an outcome to, if it is failure or if it isn't success, like whatever it is, like if you keep, you know, if all you ever do is keep trying until you succeed, if the only outcome you can see in front of you is not success, that's when you're going to worry, and that's when you're going to feel anxiety. And so it's how you frame that image of your future that determines your worry now, but it's not even really a thing that's even a reality. So the worry of it creates it as a reality, where so pulling back the worry, you could frame your emotions in this moment to an outcome that served you more.
Yeah, spot on. And this is what I love about the crystal ball analogy, because what that's effectively doing is it's focusing on only one possible future, and that is the guaranteed certain future where you have the success that you're working towards. And if you know that in that situation, if you knew with certainty that that was going to happen, if you would feel different, you know, the weight would be off your shoulders, you'd be relaxed, you wouldn't need to worry anymore because it's guaranteed. There's no risk, you know, there's no, like, you're not going to fail, you know, at that point in the future. If there's none of those other realities that are coming into your scope of view, whatever you want to call it, well, what that means is if you're worrying right now, but you wouldn't worry if you had the crystal ball, then it means you're considering the possibility of the other realities where you might fail, right? Because if they're not a thing, you wouldn't worry.
So then the problem really lies, you're right, it is in belief. So I kind of want to unpack that, because we kind of like throw this idea of belief around, and people, I think it's quite difficult to attach something to. So because this is the first time where I've been able to like pull that apart. So it's literally a case of you don't believe in your outcome of success, because if you did, you wouldn't worry. And if you didn't worry, you would then achieve that good outcome. So I think what then relates back is a practical way maybe to apply worry, use it as a tool of analysis to know that you haven't got clarity on what you want. If you really know what you want, I know as soon as when I get clarity on something, I'm like, I'm working like 12, 13-hour days. Like I am like, I can't not touch it. I have to keep going until I achieve. So, but it really takes a lot of like, what do I want? And it's funny, I find like what I want is actually a feeling, usually. It's usually more about a feeling and a desire. So recently I just realised like how fascinated I am with social dynamics, and it's completely captivated my whole moment right now. I just don't give a shit about anything else. All right, we're just gonna have to keep it. We'll
keep it in. It's authentic. It's real. That's the point.
Caroline, that's it. I don't care about anything else. I'm really fascinated by social dynamics. And at first, I felt like, which kind of gave me a bit of worry, because I was like, well, you know, I've been working on this online business thing for so long, and now I'm feeling like I need to stop this and move into another field to harness that, because I got really in the space of like, this is actually my passion that drives me. And then one day I was like, bam, no, I can apply that to my business. And since then I've just been like, completely transformed my whole strategy.
Business ninja.
I've become a business ninja, and it's actually like completely transformed how I feel about my business, because now my passion is rooted in it. It's just the success factor of like, financial freedom, life transformation. Those aren't the things that are determining my reality now. It's like, I need to harness this passion, and once it reaches full potential, that's when I've got my success. And as a byproduct, I'll have the money. So this is just my sort of like experience on that. More like, how would you, and Dan has actually like helped me. You have helped me so much finding clarity, finding like understanding emotions rather than like material outcomes, which is kind of geared material outcomes to come to me anyway. How would you get someone to be very clear on their purpose, on their passion? Like, how can you find that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of different ways, and the problem with this, the issue with trying to answer this question from any angle, is that purpose and passion it comes from a very different place than the how, right? How is tactical.
Yeah.
How do we do that? How do we do that? How do we do that? How, you know, all the hows are a very tactical, logical process. Passion, purpose, fulfillment, they're much deeper, you know? And so to answer the question, how do you find it? I think you just need to give yourself space to find it. But like for me personally, there's been many times on my journey where I'm very focused in my business. I'm very passionate about what I do. I love what I do, to the point where, you know, we've had a conversation about obsession before. Am I obsessed on my business? You know, essentially, to a level, I'm very passionate about it. But sometimes I need to step back from that and just give myself space to really put myself in that future that I'm working towards, and figure out, is that the future that I want to be living? You know, a great exercise that I've used to help get clarity around this is called the deathbed exercise. I know you've done that before with me as well. And I won't go through sort of the full meditation on this call, but the principle is you imagine vividly that you're on your deathbed, right? You're coming to the end of your life. You've got your family around you, your hospital bed, each breath's getting harder. You know, really, really put yourself in that space as if it's happening. What emotions would you feel in that moment? You know, and you start to feel those emotions. There's like a kind of like a sort of what's the word? Like a somberness, like a humbleness, like an acceptance of you're about to transition into this other life. And there's a real, like, you feel such a deep connection with the people who are standing around you in your bed in this scenario. And then you've got to think of, what is it when you look back over your life as you're at the end of your life, you know, what would you regret more than anything in that scenario? And you guarantee it's never going to be, I regret I didn't buy a Ferrari. I regret that I didn't max out my credit card at one point to start this business venture. All the material shit, like, it doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. What does mean something is that deep, emotional, purpose-driven, what do you want your life to mean? And when you boil it down, that is the only thing that ever matters. Nothing else matters in the grand scheme of things, right? And fulfillment comes from tapping into the purpose what do you want to dedicate your life to? What value do you want to give to the world? You know, it's contribution and growth. That Tony Robbins says the big two of the 6 human needs that are not about us. You know, 4 of them are very egocentric. The other 2, which are growth and contribution, are very much about giving back. That's where fulfillment lives. So if someone who's struggling, Caroline, to really, you know, tap into that, I would say take some time to reflect on, what do you want your life to mean? Put yourself in that space at the end. Look back. What would you regret not doing? Because that's all you really need to be doing. That's all that matters.
So I think what people in this scenario right now, what was coming up for interest to me, firstly, I want to point out, like, whenever I've done the deathbed exercise, or whenever I've done these exercises, I tend to have like a slightly different, like, I'm following the routine you're giving me, but I just kind of, as an extra perspective, and I've been going through a lot of practices that help me try and uncover emotions. They don't always manifest in the exact environment that you portray. So if you say, like, imagine this situation, blah, blah, you're going to find that your imagination takes you to what it wants to take you to, which might not exactly fit that scene.
Yeah.
Not frustrate and get annoyed, like, because you're not fitting your reality. Just let your emotions follow the path that is, and the visuals that the path is given them to. So firstly, this is like a bit of practical advice for anyone who wants to get more passion into their business, who wants to try this exercise, to not get too attached to the visuals of this exercise. But what I think now, as I'm listening to this and I'm like thinking about your character within, like, our community, and just generally, like, your development, we don't see much of the Dan Holloway when Dan Holloway is having a bad day.
Yeah.
Either like, oh, when does Dan Holloway need to do the deathbed exercise? When does Dan need to do the crystal ball exercise? And what is it as well that is driving you? So there's two questions. We'll start with the first one. Like, do you still get those days where you're like, what am I doing? How am I going to make this? How am I going to pull this off? Like, I want to know, like, do you struggle?
Yeah, of course, 100%. Like there's days, I had one this week where I had just a really unproductive day. Like you're just not in the right headspace, and that's cool. And there's been, I think for me, the beauty of this journey that I've had over the last 18, 19 months since I started is it's been transformational personal growth. And like the business side of things is the success in business is a byproduct of your own development and growth in yourself. It's so true. You know, the person that I've become to then achieve the result that I've achieved. Like I had to become the person first, then I could achieve the result second. So I totally have bad days. And I think the biggest lessons that I've learned are things like surrendering, don't resist, don't fight it. Like, you know, if the universe is sending you in one direction, don't try and resist and fight and be, no, I want to go this way. Like you need to be fluid. You need to go with the flow. You go, okay, I accept that this is happening the way it is. I'm not going to resist it, which I know is something that you're really on top of as well. Just accept, just surrender. Then you go from here. How can I then navigate to create the outcome that I'm looking for?
Can we get an example where you've had to deal with this?
Yes.
Like you, exactly.
So an example where I have had to stop resisting the way things are and just go, you know what, this is what it is. I'm going to roll with it. All right. Okay. So one of my biggest examples of this was so January 2017, right? And I had been working on my business for about 4 months. I had quit my job when I started, which I wouldn't advise anyone do, by the way. That puts an insane amount of pressure on you.
The pressure so I had helped catapult you.
Potentially. So there's merits and not to this as well. There's two sides of the coin. One, it meant that I was in a very fear-based, anxiety-based space, and I had to learn how to come out of that, which was so powerful. On the flip side, you know, had I been working in a job with a sustainable income, would have meant that I would have, I think, not probably taken 5 years off of my life through stress and so on and so forth.
I disagree with that because I had a job and a sustainable income, and I didn't get any further. I grew a little bit, but from the point where that was gone, and I didn't even have, like, I was staying in my job to give me more income, and I had no more income than when I started. I was like, I haven't done, because I didn't do anything to change. I didn't do anything to grow.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm never going to be ready for this, because for the last year, I've been trying to grow my pot of money to invest back in. I've been trying to, like, you know, get this, like, but it didn't happen. So then taking it out of the situation, that's when I go, like, totally, I'm not prepared for it, or wasn't prepared for it, but I'm not, and I was very fear-based, but I was also I do get this. I was so like, I'm cool. I'm just whatever. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. That's such an interesting perspective, and you're so spot on. So I guess because you were like within your comfort zone and that you still had the security of a job, it meant you didn't have the push to force you to, you know, really grow in the areas you needed to grow. Otherwise you'd run out of money, and you know, all these terrible things would happen and so on and so forth.
There was no drive to pursue my business. And because I was applying my passion to the other business that I was working in, I wasn't able to funnel it into what I wanted to do, because I was fulfilling my drive, I was fulfilling my goals, I was fulfilling my passion. It just wasn't fulfilling my idea of myself.
Yeah.
So this one was like, this kind of fulfills the idea of myself, working on my online business. This is how I want to be. I want to be perceived as an entrepreneur. I want to be perceived as someone who's successful. I want to be perceived as someone who can help other people. But my passion is still very much rooted in this place. And I know one of your edge is your competitiveness. You've got a competitive edge. You've got, like, strategy, tactics. You applied that to your last job, which got you moving forward. It got you to the top of where you were. So if you not quit that, you'd still be satisfied by achieving your strategy, your competitive edge in this environment, because you are good at it. So why would you focus your energy in an area that you haven't quite mastered to feel less significant, to feel like the value, whatever there? I feel like, you need sod the 5 years of your life. It would have taken you an extra 5 years to get to the growth anyway.
That's a really good point, actually. And I think it's one of those things that each individual person needs to look at their situation, look at where they are, look at what they're looking to achieve, and then ask yourself the question, is the path that I'm currently on sending me closer to my goal, or sending me in a different direction. And like, actually, you just highlighted something interesting to me, because I give the advice to people. I say, look, you know, I quit my job, and I, you know, went at it hell for leather with a pot of cash that was going to run out in 6 months. But I wouldn't advise people do the same. But then, like you said, like, a lot of my growth and the lessons that I learned came because I did that. But then I think, well, you know, I feel uncomfortable. Maybe this is something for me to work on. I feel uncomfortable with saying to people, hey, I think you should quit your job and go all in. Because then I'm like, well, now am I like getting them to make a decision that maybe they're not ready to make? I don't know. Tricky one, different conversation for another time, but definitely one for me to explore.
Definitely another conversation for another time, because I'm just going to like prod at a few things at you. But
so this is what Caroline does. She basically uncovers an area for somebody to grow and improve, and then she'll poke that area and help them have realizations that they didn't have before.
Well, I hope so. But this conversation has been like really like helpful, like just helping me realize more areas about myself, and also like the growth that I've achieved in the last few months as a result of like leaving a situation. And it's funny because I remember you saying like you had like no money. I remember buying you dinner, and you were really grumpy about it. Like,
my ego didn't like that.
Do it. I'm gonna let you do it because I am really fucking broke. But
Yeah.
I will get you dinner back. And I was like, it's fine. And then, like, you know, it wasn't long before, like, you know, a success story. And it just reminded me, like, I remember you saying, like, you had like no money in your bank, but you just didn't really care.
So let me share. Yeah. So let me share this story, because this is like such an important shift that I had to go through.
And it's
so
recently gone through as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's so powerful. So January 2017, right? I'd been working on my business for 4 months. I quit my job. And then at Christmas, just beforehand, I took 2 weeks out. I spent time with my family. And then when I went back to work in January, I thought, okay, first step, I need to look at my situation, look at my plan that, you know, over the next few months, money that I have in the bank account, work out the bills, what I've got left, and so on and so forth. And I realized that I had 2.5 months left until I would run out of capital, run out of credit, run out of like all the resources that I had available. 2.5 months. And when I realized that, my subconscious mind started freaking out. Like, I couldn't sleep. I was like, anxiety. I was lying in bed. My heart was going. It was like, calm down. Just stop thinking about it. Stop thinking about it. I couldn't stop thinking about what was going to happen when I ran out of money. And most of it, I thought at the time, it was fear of like the financial aspects. What am I going to do? I'm going to, have to find money and not get, not lose my flat and all this kind of stuff. Right. What I realized was the main driver behind that was pride. It was fear of judgment. Everybody who said I was insane for quitting a 6-figure career to pursue this crazy online venture and build a business in this way, like everyone was like, you're an idiot for doing that. What's wrong with you? And I was like, no, I've got this. I'm going to do this. And the fear was around, what am I going to do when I have to go with my tail between my legs, go back into either my old job or another job, knowing that I'd failed and everyone would see that I'd failed. And it was my pride. And I was terrified, like so scared of this happening. So the transition was understanding, first of all, from one of our coaches in the business community that we're a part of, a guy called Justin Wolf. It was understanding that in that moment, my subconscious was trying to find certainty in an uncertain future. I was trying to connect the dots. I was trying to figure out, how am I going to... Say again?
It's on the Elite Mastermind.
Yes, correct. That's right. So it was trying to figure out, how am I going to get out of this situation if it happens, when it happens. I was thinking, when it happens, how am I going to get out of this imagined future situation? And because we're not psychic, I'm not psychic. Very few of us are psychic. We can't predict the future, right? We therefore can never find certainty in an uncertain future if we're growing, because as entrepreneurs, part of what we're doing is growth. Like, we're going into spaces we've never been before. That's part of entrepreneurship. So we've got to learn to be comfortable with uncertainty. Astronaut, exactly, going out into space, right? So I'm trying to find certainty in this uncertain future. And so Justin had this whole dialogue with me about, like, are you going to quit? I was like, no, I'm not going to quit no matter what. I'm 100% committed to this. And he said, what are the only two outcomes? You either succeed or you die. So, okay. So if I succeed...
as well, on like a call with other people.
Yeah, this was live. This was like, I came out and asked the question. I was like, this scares me, so I'm going to do it. So I came out and asked the question, and he helped me with this. And it was one of my biggest breakthroughs. Again, put yourself out there. If it's scary, go do it. Face it head on. Different lesson. But just wanted to say that. So anyway, help me understand that if I truly believe that I'm never going to quit no matter what, and I succeed, do I need to know the path of how I'm going to get there? No, it's just going to happen as it happens. Like, do I trust myself? Do I truly trust myself that I'm never going to quit? I was like, yeah, I'm never going to quit. Like, I'm not going to quit. So therefore I will succeed. So all this worry and fear that I'm feeling around this future-paced imagined scenario, whatever happens and whatever my journey is, I needed to trust and let go and surrender that the universe is giving me exactly what I need to learn the lessons that I need to learn to become the person I need to be. I need to stop resisting it. I need to stop trying to make things go the way I think they should go, and just trust in the way that they're going, and trust that I'm going to get there, no matter how it happens. And I understood this on a conscious level, but the shift, like the bit when I got it, like I truly got it, was end of March, start of April, 2017, and I made what's called a silver sale. So it was like a sale in my business, certain product level, and it paid me an amount of revenue. And I remember looking at the email that said, "Hey, you've just made this sale," and my brain, little voice in my head, said, "Yeah, but that's not going to be enough to stop you failing, though." And I was like, "Whoa, where the hell did that come from?" Wow. I stopped to listen to it, like observed it, and the fear. Although I understood that I wasn't going to quit, and I understood I wasn't going to get there, I was still attached to this outcome that I'm going to fail. Didn't truly believe myself. And I was standing there in my kitchen at the time. I was making a tuna sandwich. And I remember I was standing there, and I remember thinking, right, hang on a second. So in my sales career, when I would get to the end of the sales quarter and there'd be incentives, like Miami, Vegas, like all these trips and stuff. And I was always dead set. I was like, I'm going to win them. I don't care how far behind I am. I don't care what I have to do. I'm going to win it. Like, it's happening. There's no ifs, no buts. There is only that future, right? And I used to do stuff in the last day or two of the sales quarter that I didn't even know how I'd done it. I'd close deals that should have been impossible to close. I would do like 2/3 of a month's target in 8 hours. And I got this reputation on the sales floor. Like, people used to fear me. Got to the point where people would be 30 grand ahead or something, which is like basically a month's target. And they'd refuse to accept that they were going to win. They were like, yeah, but Dan always just does crazy shit on the last day. So like, they wouldn't believe that they could win. And I was like, I'm going to win. Like, it doesn't matter what situation I'm coming from. And so I realized, my shift was realizing, hold on, if I need that scenario, that deadline, that do or die, there is no outcome but success. If I need that scenario to thrive in my old career, why am I failing the deadline, the abyss, the end in this? Like, I should be embracing that, because that's going to turn me into like this ultimate version of myself that I can't tap into unless I have that. And then as soon as I got that, my subconscious mind was like, aha, get it, understood it. I was like, bring it on. And from that moment, everything changed. Like, the thought of running out of money, I was like, bring it on, because I will figure it out. I don't care what it takes. I've got it. I will find a way. I always find a way. I believe in myself. I know I'm never going to quit. And when I got that and it connected, the transition was in April, Caroline, time that you said, I had 29 quid in my bank account. And I sound like Ty Lopez when I say this, but I had 29 quid in my bank account. I had a payment of £500 for a business loan that I got coming out the next day, right? I remember sitting there and just thinking, this is fine. Like, genuinely, I wasn't bullshitting myself. I wasn't like, put on a brave face for really I'm shitting myself. It was like, genuinely, it's going to be fine. Like, whatever happens here, it's going to work out. I'm going to figure it out. It doesn't matter. And then I was laughing. So I was thinking, I really want to see how this is going to pan out with this insane level of belief that I now have in myself and in the process. And then that day, I had a tax rebate that was due at some point in the next month, but I had no idea when. It's £4,000 tax rebate, because obviously I quit my career halfway through the tax year and I was paying like high income. Anyway, tax rebate, £4,000, landed in my bank account that afternoon, 1 o'clock. And I was like, there you go, see, knew it would work out okay, trust in the process. And that for me was all the proof that I ever needed, that no matter how bad things get, I will embrace that. I will bring it on, because I need that to grow into the person that I need to become. So I don't fear like running out of money. I don't fear what that number in my bank account says. I don't fear however challenging a situation gets, because that for me, like, that's going to push me into becoming a better person and therefore getting even closer to my goal.
This is brilliant. Like, I've heard your story before, but I've never been able to really connect with you and like really like understand the moments between, because you've always just kind of like broken it down and like that this is like really important stuff. And it's actually really interesting because there's so many points in your story. I was like, oh my God, I remember this happening to me. I remember this happening to me. I remember this happened to me. And it led to my growth. And I remember, and it's also weird as well, you say like not worrying about the money thing, because I almost sometimes worry, like, why don't you care? Like, I think I've almost got this person going, no, you need to care about this. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I feel like when transitioning over that, I just like, I haven't got the weight holding me down anymore, that I can just be like really focused. And I was talking to Kat Smith earlier actually about like coaching and stuff like that, like what the importance of coaching and the importance of like training and being attuned to people who are like achieving results is integration, because we all have these snap moments. We all have these moments where we're like, this way of thinking doesn't serve me anymore. I know this is not the path I should be on. I know that I need to do this, but the next day it's like, well, I know it now. At least I know it. I don't need to do anything. I just know it. So I'm it's gonna come. But when you're like, you have to actually like then you have to apply. So like you said, like you had the elite mastermind with Justin Wolf. He pulled you out. He told you what it was. You're like, okay. But then when you had the thought, you were able to apply the reality. You go, oh yeah, that's what's keeping me back.
Yeah.
It's the application of the awareness later, and then start going, okay, now I'm going to practically pull this apart. And then you get to a point where it then tests you and says, well, I'm taking away everything you've got. I'm just going to like pull it all back and see how confident you really are. And then you're like, whatever.
Actually got this.
I've got this. And I think, do you know what? That's a really important journey to go on, because I cannot stress the peace of mind you get when you like, I've got no money, but I'm having a great time. And I know that money, I can breathe it in and I can breathe it out. The money doesn't even matter, because I'm just doing something that's fulfilling.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so important as well, just to kind of wrap up this thread here, to understand the mechanics of what's happening behind the scenes here. Because with this belief aspect, the reason it's so powerful is our beliefs lead to our thoughts lead to our actions lead to our results. So if you go back to the crystal ball analogy that I talked about earlier, so if I had a crystal ball in that scenario where I was freaking out in January 2017, and if I'd have known that by like Friday the 18th of May 2018, for example, I'd be sitting where I am in the business with the financial results that I have, if I knew that was a guaranteed future, no matter what, 100% certainty I'm going to make it, that anxiety and fear would have disappeared. The actions that I'd have taken would have been from a place of abundance, confidence, belief, and certainty. Now,
but quickly, would you have changed that situation? Would you have had that situation without the anxiety and fear, or would you just appreciate the fear and anxiety?
Well, again, this is a whole nother thing. Like, I needed that pressure to get to the point to find the belief. And I realized that the belief was always in there. I didn't need anything outside of myself to believe. I didn't need results. I didn't need proof. I didn't need to see that this works, because I believed that it worked. And the second that I believed that it worked and I worked and I had this, that was when I started taking the actions that I would have taken had I had the crystal ball. And here's the distinction. If you have the crystal ball and you knew with utter certainty that you're going to get to where you want to get to, the actions that you would take from that space, if they're different to the actions you're taking now, then it means the actions you're taking now are manifesting a different outcome, because your beliefs lead to your thoughts lead to your actions lead to your results, right? Different actions lead to different results. And so what happens is when we fear something, let's say we fear running out of money, right? If we didn't fear running out of money, we take this action and go this way. Because we fear running out of money, we're less confident on our marketing spend. We don't make the bigger decisions. We don't take risks. We don't do all these things that we don't do because we're fearing running out of money. What we're doing is we're manifesting the very result that we're fearing, because that's where our focus is, and our actions are influenced by that fear, and inadvertently and subconsciously we bring that into reality, because that's where because that's where our focus is driving us. And we do this all the time. We don't realize it. It's why when people crash their cars in like an open road with one tree in the middle of a field, the statistical amount of times that people hammer themselves into that one tree is unbelievably out of skew of how it should be. All the places in the field their car could go. the reason people crash into that one tree is they see the tree and go, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree. And they inadvertently steer themselves in the direction of the tree that they're trying not to hit. And we do this in life all the time. So you've got to understand, if you're approaching anything, any goal, from a space of fear, and if you would be taking different actions if you had the crystal ball than the ones you're taking now, recognize that those fear-based actions coming from that fear-based space are going to drive you towards the very thing that you fear. You must find that belief, and you must take the actions with utter certainty. That is the abundance we need to move towards our goals.
So this is great. Well done.
Thank you.
It's just gone really well. I'm really glad. What I want to ask you now, just to like wrap everything up, is how do you feel now? Like how do you, like, you've pushed through that anxiety, and not only that, a lot of us push through anxieties and stresses all the time,
but
you've done it with awareness. And so now, how do you feel as Dan Holloway now and the Dan Holloway September 2016?
Yeah, biggest difference is just day-to-day life. Just the way I feel about myself in social situations, like my confidence in myself and who I am, that I'm enough. I know that I'm enough. I trust myself. I believe in myself. And like, sure, the results in business are different. I've been traveling since August 22nd, 2017, which is great fun. But then that became the norm. I'm actually now back in the UK for a couple of weeks, taking a break. And I was looking forward to that more than all the places that I was going, because that was now my normal life, right?
Holiday.
A holiday from holiday, yeah. So all of these, things, they're great, but that's not the real difference. The real difference is who I've become in there. And this is really, like, I think been hammered home over this last weekend just gone, because I went to this like boot camp thing about sort of social situations, speaking to people, becoming a better person, or having the confidence to, go up and just talk to anyone in like these most embarrassing, horrific situations imaginable. And the second you push your comfort zones and do stuff like stand in the middle of Trafalgar Square with your arms out, shouting to everyone, "Hey, everybody, I want to tell you about why I love Excel spreadsheets so much," and stuff like this, all these things that I love Excel spreadsheets, all these things that we do to expand our comfort zone. It has an overview on all areas of our life, like everything, not just relative to the specific, in this case, business.
I'm just laughing because I actually wrote a blog post on you and Excel spreadsheets the other day. So
really?
This conversation, like,
I need to read it.
You do. It's just about like how to which is a really nice little way to finish this off. Actually, no, I won't. Should I? Yeah, I'll finish it off. Basically, you feel great. You feel powerful. You feel you now, like, you've got the secret spell to like overcome the next dragon that comes at you.
I feel a sense of calm, and the perspective is, I think this would summarize this and wrap this up well. So my perspective now is I recognize that all of the biggest challenges in my life have made me into who I am, right? So I think of the things I'm most proud of in myself. What values do I hold highest? Leadership, honor, empathy, independence, boldness, all these things that I value in myself. I recognize that not one of them has come from the easy times, the good times when I was coasting. Like my mum and dad splitting up when I was 7, for example. I always looked at this throughout my life as the worst event, the bad event, the baddest event in my life, right? And the shift was realizing that 8 out of 10 of my top 10 values that I am proud of and who I am and the reason I have the results I have today, 8 out of 10 of those values directly came from that event, the worst event of my life. So was it the worst event, or was it the single greatest gift I could ever have been given? And when we get this shift in perspective and we realize that the most challenging times give us our biggest gifts and give us the most growth to become the person we want to be, do we need to fear the challenges ahead of us, or do we need to embrace them and go, I can't wait, because that's going to turn me into the person I want to become to achieve my goals? Those challenges will bring me closer to my goals. They are a good thing. They are the best thing. They're exactly what we need. And I don't fear a future anymore. I don't fear running out of money. I don't fear, like, I could go 5 million in debt from a failed business venture. I don't care. I don't feel fear or anxiety around that, because I know where I'm going. I know that I will get there. And I know that this challenge right now, this 5 million in debt challenge, if, for example, I was to have that challenge, I know that will give me more growth than anything else possibly could. And I will become I'll be propelled like into heights that I would never get without that. So bring it on. You know, I don't fear it. I feel confident and calm in myself. I believe in myself, and it gives you like this sense of just pure like stillness, I suppose. Stillness, like you're not freaking out and feeling anxiety and all this stuff. It doesn't happen.
You just stand still in a hurricane.
Yeah, just like, I got this. It's fine.
Well, I'm going to leave it on that and just like wrap up on the fact that, as on a personal note, for people that don't know you, I met you, you know, a year ago. It would have been last April I met you.
Yeah.
It's so strange because I've seen it just since then, and like just since that time when you were actually like already midway through your transition, a complete, like, you haven't changed, you haven't done a 180 because you're still very Dan, but it's almost like you're Dan X like 10. You're 10 like you have so much more stillness and so much more presence and so much more, like, you can command a room just so much different to where you were before. Like, you've completely transformed, like, in so many different ways. So I will attest to that. Like, and I was talking to your brother about that in the Dominican Republic. Like, you're just a different person.
Thank you.
The person I met, and you know, we've been close throughout the whole thing. So I've actually had like an upfront perspective to see your transformation. So that I hope for anyone who, you know, looks up to you, or like and right now is feeling like, I can't do this, I hope that this helps them with their belief, with finding some clarity on their purpose, with acceptance, and with growth.
Perfect.
So, thank you very much for this.
Thank you very much. I fully receive your kind words, Caroline, and I really appreciate you giving the time to talk about this as well. Thank you.
No problem. Right, I'm ending this now. Ta-ra.
Speak soon. Bye.